Milton Mayer, in his book, They Thought They Were Free, is talking with a German college professor. Some of these quotes are from a college professor, some are from a baker. And I wrote this piece back in 2005. It's over on our website at tomhartmann.com. It was originally published on Common Dreams, but I'm not sure they're still archiving stuff that far back. But it's over on our blog. If you want to read it, you can easily find it. And I encourage you to buy a copy of Milton Mayer's book. It's mind-boggling. So he's talking to this German college professor, and he says, how could you have done it? I mean, and this guy didn't, go off and join the army and say, I want to run a death camp. This guy just kept being a college professor throughout the roughly 12 years of Hitler's, 10 years, whatever it was, that Hitler ran Germany. And Mayer's like, how? And this guy relates a story of talking to another college professor and what he said. And he said, here's what he says. He says, you see, my colleague went on, one doesn't see exactly where or how to move. Believe me, this is true. Now, let me just interrupt this for a second. I think a lot of Americans are thinking this right now. What do I do? He says, each act, each occasion is worse than the last, but only a little worse. Oh, they're tapping into the back end of AT&T. Oh, it's AT&T and Verizon? Oh, it's AT&T and everything? Oh, Ed Snowden said, each step is like, but then you get used to that one, right? So anyhow, back to the book. He says, each act, each occasion is worse than the last, but only a little worse. You wait for the next and the next. You wait for the one great shocking occasion, thinking that other people, when such a shock comes, will join you in resisting somehow. You don't want to act or even talk alone. You don't want to go out of your way to make trouble. Why not? Well, you're not in the habit of doing it. And it's not just fear of standing alone that restrains you. It's also genuine uncertainty. Uncertainty is a very important factor. And instead of decreasing as time goes on, it grows. Are we here now? Now, I'm not in any way saying we are Nazi Germany. This is just, there's, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, the United States. I'm not sure that I can say we've seen it in the United States. But, over and over and over again, we've seen countries descend into authoritarianism. So anyhow, he says, you're waiting for that one great shocking occasion. Uncertainty is a very important factor. And instead of decreasing as time goes on, it grows. Outside in the streets, in the general community, everyone seems happy. No, one hears no protests, certainly sees none. In France or Italy, there are slogans against the government painted on walls and fences. In Germany, outside the great cities maybe, but there's not even that. In the university committee, in my own community, you speak privately to your colleagues, some of whom certainly feel the way you do. And what do they say? They say, it's not so bad. You're seeing things. You're an alarmist. It was Germany, 1934. And you are an alarmist. You are saying that this must lead to this, but you can't prove it. These are the beginnings, yes, but how do you know for sure when you don't know the end? And how do you know or even surmise the end? On the one hand, your enemies, the law, the regime, the party, they intimidate you. On the other hand, your colleagues poo-poo you as being pessimistic or even neurotic. But that one great shocking occasion when tens or hundreds of thousands will join you in protesting against the government's intrusion into our private lives, that never comes. That's the difficulty. If the last and worst act of the whole regime had come immediately after the first and smallest, thousands, yes, millions of people would have been sufficiently shocked if, let us say, the gassing of the Jews in 43 had come immediately after the German firm stickers on the windows of non-Jewish shops in 33. But, of course, this isn't the way it happens. In between come all the hundreds of little steps, some of them imperceptible, each of them preparing you not to be shocked by the next. Step C is not so much worse than B, and if you didn't take a stand at B, why would you take a stand at C? And then on to step D. And one day, too late, and this is where this fellow tells his own story. He gets very personal. He says, and one day, too late, your principles, if you were ever sensible of them, all rush in on you. The burden of self-deception has grown too heavy, and some minor incident. In my case, it was my little boy, hardly more than a baby, saying, Jews, swine. Your world collapses it all at once, and you see that everything has changed, and changed completely under your nose. The world you live in, your nation, your people, it's not the world you are in at all. The forms are all there, all untouched, all reassuring, the houses, the shops, the jobs, the mealtimes, the visits, the concerts, the cinema, the holidays. But the spirit, which you never noticed because you made the lifelong mistake of identifying it with the forms, the spirit has changed. And now you live in a world of hate and fear. And I would say now you live in Dick Cheney's world. Now you live in a world of hate and fear, and the people who hate and fear do not even know it themselves. When everyone is transformed, no one is transformed. Now you live in a system which rules without responsibility even to God. Milton Mayer then asked the man, he said, how is this to be avoided among ordinary men, even highly educated ordinary men? And the guy said, frankly, I don't know. He says, I do not see, even now, how we could have stopped it. Many, many times since it all happened, I have pondered that pair of great maxims. Principis obsta and finem respis. Resist the beginnings and consider the end. But one must foresee the end. In order to resist or even see the beginnings, one must foresee the end clearly and certainly. And how is this to be done by ordinary men or even by extraordinary men? How can they see the end? And so here we are, in a country that's becoming increasingly more authoritarian, both at the national level, torturing people, propping up dictators, toppling dictators, whatever it may be, I, Claudius, we, the conquerors of the planet, and domestically. You're playing what in your car? I'm pulling you over. 80 years old, in bed, sound asleep, I don't care. I thought I smelled meth. You're dead. 12 years old, toy gun. Hey, in 2 seconds, I can figure that out, that you're a threat to this country. Bang, you're dead. Selling cigarettes on the street corner? Oh, choke that guy to death. I mean, is America becoming more authoritarian, or are we just hearing more about it?
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
And in either case, are you changing the way that you behave? Are you censoring yourself? Are you being more careful? Have you noticed the country has changed?